Okay, so we have some questions about photo restoration to go over. And so let's first start with how to take a detail like this rung on the chair and fix the part that's missing with the piece that's below it. So my first step is to come in here and let's look at the jacket first. And so I take my clone stamp to select information from here, and I'll pull it down here and first kind of match this and make it finished before we work with the details on the chair. I feel like I need to come out a little further, so I'm going to actually take this area here and pull it up a little bit more. And kind of just fill it in, kind of paint her arm into place. So now you can see the difference there. Okay, so we're going to now look at the rung of the chair. It's not a full rung because her shoulder is coming over it a bit, or her arm is coming over it a bit. So I'm actually going to look at where this curve would go to. So it'd be kind of like curve to here, and I need to replace that. So if this were the exact same as this one, I'm going to take my information from right here and come up here and line it up. And place it where it needs to be. And so now it's the full rung of the chair. That work? Okay. And so I've done all of that with the clone stamp. So now what I need to do is come in with the healing brush tool or the spot healing brush tool just to make sure, like if there's anything in here, well, oops, if there's anything in here that needs to be cleaned up, or if I zoomed in to here and saw that in here needed any smudging to make it more believable, less noticeable, kind of get it to match the background in there a little bit more. So then the next one we want to talk about is her hand. So she has fingers here that are intact. She is missing this part of her finger. We are able to kind of take information from another part of the image and utilize it elsewhere. So I'm going to, with my marquee tool, just take her finger right here. And I'm going to copy it and paste it, which will create a new layer. And I can come up here to edit, transform, and flip it horizontally to make the finger go the other direction. And so that being said, we're able to kind of take that information where we need it. This hand isn't exactly the same, it's not the same direction or anything as this other one as far as this finger goes, but it might work just as well. And so I'm going to select out kind of just with the polygon lasso tool the section of the finger that's needed. And I can actually come up here and select inverse, and with my backspace button I can delete out the rest of it. And bring it over here. Now, something else to consider is there's a lot of things that I need to do now to this finger, like if I come up to Edit, Free Transform, and click on this button here, it'll make it to where I'm able to change a lot about it, distort it to where it would fit what we're needing it to look like more so. And so these pixels are pretty much just the coloration that we're needing, and we can adjust them accordingly to be what we're needing. That's one way to do it. That would take a little bit more finagling to get it to match. Another is I can just take this finger here, the pinky on her left hand, And I'm actually just going to clip it with the polygonal lasso tool. And that might actually work better for this picture, since it's going the right directions already and whatnot. Clip this out, and I can go to no, I don't want to cut it. One second. Copy. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. That would explain why. Copy and paste this finger and move it over to here where I'm needing it. So about here. And I can now come in and do my free transform. And I want to click this button here to have more freedom with my transformation. And put it kind of where it needs to be. So I'm thinking about there. And so now we can see where I need to erase it away. And quite literally I'm using my bracket, my left bracket, to just make my brush smaller, my eraser smaller, but I'm just going to erase it away. And so you can also see here it needs to be. And now I can take this layer and this layer, and I'm going to make a new layer of both of them and merge it together. So then I can come in with my clone stamp to fix the information in here. And push this finger to the background slightly. So clean up where needs to be cleaned up around the glove. And this is just using the clone stamp. And now I can come in with my spot healing brush tool that is content aware up here. And blend these a little bit more. Okay, so kind of fixes our problem there a bit. If I'd had more time, I would have spent a little bit more time finagling the finger to look a little bit more in place, by maybe taking the free transform and kind of straightening that out a bit more. Probably would have made it a little bit better. And then placing it kind of in place of where it's needing to be, but then cleaning up the edge. So it's kind of more critical thinking of where does this need to go and what does a finger look like in that place. So you need to figure it out and kind of paint the pixels that are missing from there. So kind of like so. And I can actually just get rid of this other finger I put in there. So that looks actually better, I think, than the one before did. Yeah, so that's more believable as her finger would have been. Now we're going to look at how do we erase out, like if you've done a lot of changes, how do we erase out a part of your layer? I have this right here is before the photo was edited whatsoever. And then of course the ones we've just made changes to. I have my one that's been edited and my one that's not. And so I don't like how the dress over here looks. So what I really want to do is, with my 2 layers selected, I'm going to come over here and select the part of the dress I'm not a fan of. I feel like I need to do some more work in this area and just kind of go back to the drawing board, if you will. So I'm going to select it all. Make sure I have the right layer selected and just delete it out with the backspace. And so now that I have those 2 layers, when you do this, make sure you keep a copy of the original that's not been changed. So I still have a copy, but now I can go back and try and do this again, and even, just blend the edge here to make sure that it doesn't look like just a cutout section. Does that make sense? And so that works pretty well. When you do things like this, a lot of times there might be some tone, kind of like at the bottom of her skirt being lighter and whatnot, tone issues. And so if I take my entire layer here and select it, or just come up here to image, adjustments, we can adjust the tone. Auto tone is a good feature for this. It shows you how it really kind of subdues a lot of the coloration. This being an old photograph, it was black and white. It just has aged and become sepia over the years. And so we can even come in and do black and white on it, and that'll help with keeping the tone similar. And so it makes it more believable as a fully restored photograph. And you're able to also come in then, and you're not dealing with as many colors of pixels. You're just dealing with the tones within the image. And so it makes it a little bit easier in that sense to touching up final little things. Like if I wanted to come in here and finagle this a little bit more, it's a little bit easier to do now. Not like that though, because that was just awful. Okay. Do y'all have any other questions before I end this demo?
I've done her jacket, but how would you go about making all
The folds and stuff in her jacket?
Yeah, right there in the middle, right above her hands.
Okay, so with her jacket, I would first start with, as always, the clone stamp to get information from one area and put it in another. And so kind of starting here in, constantly reselecting information and lining it up and drawing it in. Keep hitting the wrong button, so I'm not paying attention, sorry. Not paying attention what button I'm hitting. And so I'm just coming in here and doing kind of that. It's such dark fabric, you lose a lot of the information in the dark of it.
So you lose details if it's dark fabric?
Well, in this photograph, see, really there's not much detail on this side because it's so dark. On this side it's a little lighter, so there's a little bit more detail.
What about after you've done all that? How would you blend it without making it look blurry?
It tends to look blurry the most when you come in and you're blending with a large